Finding Common Battlegrounds is an attempt by two brothers, one conservative, the other progressive, to have civil conversations about politics with a little help from their friends.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds, the podcast that is civilized and sophisticated. This is our first podcast of 2022, and we're going to do things a little bit different. We're going to make predictions today, predictions about the year 2022 and beyond, and see how much agreement we have between all of us. So we actually all have predictions, and we're going to be delivering these. But first, a word from our sponsor. Ring in the new year with a clean butt. All right. I was down in my basement the other day in my crawl space. I got my shoes dirty. They had mud all over them. Did I wipe them clean with a paper towel? No. I washed them off with water. Of course. That's the only thing a civilized person would do. Come on. So what are we doing with our butts when we go to the bathroom? Wiping it? This is disgusting. Come on. Grow up and become a real man and spray it clean with a bidet.
Lux needs to hire you immediately. That was an impassioned plea. I loved that.
It's only logical, right, guys?
That's what I've been saying for years. All
right. So there's really not the spectrum here's the rules are pretty much the same. We're going to give each of us have three predictions that we're going to give, and we're going to see how much we agree with each other. And so you're going to make your supporting argument, and then we'll just have a little discussion afterwards and see if you can get the other person to agree. And they're kind of, we're not taking really specific positions or anything. It's just sort of our prediction. And there's not, the topics are, it can be anything from climate to health and COVID to politics. So we're all over the place today. It's just gonna be fun to see what we think is going to happen in 2022, and it'll be fun to look back at the end of the year. We can look back at this and see how right or how wrong we were. So without further ado, why don't we go to Ryan's first prediction? Ryan, I think I'm just going to let you give your point.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah, you just go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to start with a political prediction. I have a COVID-related one for my second one. I think Democrats are likely to lose the Senate and possibly the House. That is pretty common during midterm elections. Voters get frustrated with the ruling party and vote in the other party. That, of course, will lead to even more political deadlock than we already have, and the result will be that nothing will get done again. And since no party is willing to actually get anything done at the moment, we will continue to raise the spending deficit in the US and screw future generations of Americans who are going to have to pay for the overspending that is taking care of boomers. Can we agree, Josh and Tom, that our current political situation is really the perfect storm for destroying our country fiscally? Republicans, when in charge, cut taxes, but generally don't decrease spending. Democrats, when in charge, increase spending on social services, but don't raise taxes. If things continue the way they are, we'll eventually pay no taxes, but spend lots of money on social services. So that's my first prediction of the year. Combined multiple things that basically there's going to be complete deadlock because Democrats are going to lose the Senate, possibly the House. They won't be able to get anything done, period. And this is just going to lead to even greater financial ruin for the United States.
So you're saying Republicans will win the House, which wouldn't be a big surprise because that's pretty common. Yeah. And then, but you're saying this will lead to like a dire economic situation.
And even worse, our economic system, our economic situation in the U.S. is going to get even worse because of this.
Cool.
Do you want me to answer first, Tom, or do you want to answer?
Yeah.
I partially agree. I do agree that it's going to, because politics it's a pendulum. It always swings back and forth. So we're on the downswing. We're going to swing back. The Republicans are going to probably take over both. I agree with that. What you just said didn't make a lot of sense because you said Republicans lower taxes and Democrats don't raise taxes. Then why did taxes keep going up? Somebody's raising taxes. We have taxes.
They haven't gone up. They've gone down.
Since when?
Bush lowered them, and then his expired actually. So his expired, but then under
so you're saying in the
Trump,
last
they
15 years or so?
18 years roughly. So Bush had tax cuts. They expired. Then Trump had tax cuts. But Democrats have not raised taxes. This
They've
is the fun
wanted
part.
to.
Right.
They've
Yes,
been blocked
they've wanted
several
to.
times.
They keep saying they're going to, but here's what they do.
Well,
They say
keep
we're going
getting
to raise
blocked.
taxes to pay for these benefits that we're going to give everybody,
Yes.
but then they don't. And then Republicans cut taxes, but they keep spending the same. So that's literally what I said is Republicans cut taxes, but don't cut spending. Democrats raise spending, but don't raise taxes. All that means is we keep spending more money, but not bringing it in to offset it. So we've got massive deficit. Yeah, that's all I agree
with. Well,
yeah,
that's literally what I said.
There was a little more context there with the explanation.
Yes,
because obviously we have taxes from somewhere. Somebody raised them at some point.
Yeah, I'm trying to think the last time we raised tax. George H.W. Bush raised taxes in 92.
Some would say, I mean, it's been argued that when Obamacare came out, that was like a tax, right? Because it was a required mandate, and
The Supreme Court said it was.
That's why I'm thinking that, because they interpret it as a tax, and they say governments can tax, therefore they can mandate, and so that was kind of a tax interpretation of tax. But no, I totally agree, Ryan. I totally agree. So we're screwed.
Pretty much.
I'll get to that too. Let me make one clarification. I don't think the government not doing anything is necessarily a bad thing. That's how the founders designed the system. They designed it so the federal government, it would be hard for the federal government to do anything. That was the intent. They didn't want the government to just be able to freely make changes because they see government as the necessary evil they saw government as the necessary evil that it is. So that's not in and of itself a terrible thing. It's just we're already in such a bad state. Nobody's going to be able to fix it. But who is going to fix it? Liberals, conservatives, Republicans? I mean, who's going to fix it? So in my mind, maintaining the status quo is better than giving power to either party because they both suck and neither of them know how to fix it. And they, like you said, the Democrats are worse because they keep raising spending, but the conservatives aren't fixing it either. So
Josh, go and do your second prediction because it's basically very similar.
It was very similar.
Yeah.
Let me find it. It's basically the same thing. I'm taking to explain to everybody. I took this as when Tom presented this topic, our predictions. I took it as carte blanche to just take cheap shots at liberals. That's what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
So my second one, Ryan and Tom, would you agree in the near future we will likely see an economic downturn, and it's largely Biden's fault because he is a dementia-ridden wanker?
A dementia-ridden what? Wanker?
Wanker.
Oh, we went British. Okay.
We went British. Top of the morning to
Took
you.
me a minute. I was like, dementia-ridden what?
Yeah.
Let me just,
Ryan,
I was reading it. Well, I was reading a Newsweek article and it said 60% of those surveyed by CNBC, a poll said they disapproved of the way President Joe Biden has handled the economy. About 72% of them disapproved of his handling of the prices of everyday goods, and 66% disapproved of his efforts to help their wallets. Said at the center of their concerns lies the fact that over 2021, the rate of inflation jumped by 6.8%, the highest increase since 1982. The cost of energy expenses, including gas, rose by 33%, and the price of food has climbed by 6.1%. So this inflation is incredibly alarming. And to be fair, in the same article, it talked about some of the strong things about the economy. People are still hiring. Jobs look decent, although it's a weird market. People can't find jobs, and the government is still subsidizing people not to work, which that's terrifying. And this kind of goes into the stuff I wanted to talk about with COVID, but the government is shutting down certain businesses that it deemed were non-essential. So there, even though the economy has still done pretty well, there are signs on the horizon that are terrifying me. And Ryan may be right; it might be more political caused in the midterm elections. I think it's more just all of this spending is going to bite us in the butt, and the inflation is going to wreck us. I mean, inflation is bad, and nobody seems to care right now.
All right, this is Ryan. What do you think? Yeah.
So can we agree that Josh is taking cheap shots at liberals right now?
Yes,
I think
can.
so. Yeah.
Of course we can
because
agree. I totally admitted that's the whole thing
Okay.
I'm doing today.
Good. Because I think I've got to have it on record somewhere. Josh saying that like the president really has virtually no influence over the economy.
He
This
has
is a
some,
beautiful. He has some, but
but
we
it's
all
not.
agree.
We were just talking about this. It's an people make it an oversimplification.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks,
Yes.
Obama. Thanks,
Like the
Trump.
whole economy is the president's fault.
Yeah.
When it's way more complicated than that.
Okay.
But the
Good.
president, I mean, if you look at gas prices, what did Biden do his first week in office? He shut off the Keystone Pipeline, or he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. So some of this, I mean, gas prices, you can tie that to the Biden administration.
Yeah, but the inflation
Fairly directly.
Sure, but the inflation for goods, I don't think we can. I mean, that's like knock-on effects of the pandemic and shipping and all these other complications
Possibly
that have driven up, because basically people have more money in their pockets because they're not traveling. That's a big factor that actually Mike and Danny, our brothers, mentioned is they're not traveling. So they're saving up all this money that they would have been spending on travel. Now they want to buy stuff because they want to like buy four-wheelers and go, have fun at home. And so there's huge demand for all of these consumer goods, and we can't get everything that people want to buy here. So, I mean, this is basic market forces, right?
Well,
if demand goes up, but supply is low, then people can charge more for it, and
Sure.
Inflation, that's just straight up inflation. So
I mean, there's inflation for food and stuff, but again, you could tie some of that back to COVID. A lot of plants got
Absolutely.
shut down. The microchip shortage has been crazy, and it's not just COVID related. There was that drought in Indonesia where they are making the chips. So it's way more complicated than it's just Biden's fault.
Okay.
But he ain't helping. He's
okay. So I would agree that Josh is taking cheap shots at liberals. I totally agree with that. I don't love the idea of 6% inflation, right? I think that is pretty terrifying. What will come of that? I don't know. I mean, that I think is an interesting and somewhat open question. What is going to happen with the inflation? And obviously the government, and here's where I would say this is a beautiful illustration of the government being more complicated. The Federal Reserve is actually what stipulates interest rates, right? So borrowing rates. Yep. And of course, they're starting to increase the rates, which is how they put the curb on inflation. And they seem to do that independent of who's in office, which I think is kind of interesting.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, and Turkey actually offers a really good illustration of this. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. I mean,
Very
Tom
keen.
was there, but Josh, have you been paying attention to what's been happening in Turkey with their inflation?
No.
So Recep type Erdogan, we'll just call him Erdogan. He has the opposite understanding of how to deal with inflation, which is he's lowering interest rates. Lowering interest rates, even though inflation is going through the roof. And everybody's like, dude, you're a freaking idiot.
Which is just putting fuel on the fire.
Exactly. So their inflation is just going crazy. And every time he hires somebody to step in and like be in charge of that, if they disagree with him, he fires them. Yeah. So he keeps putting in people who are like, okay, I guess we'll do this.
That's a great idea.
Yes, man.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows what's going to happen with inflation? Hopefully, the Fed raising interest rates is going to put a little bit of a curb on that, and we'll see what happens. But if they keep going up, that's terrifying. This is not good, but I don't know what's going to happen.
This is all right. Here's my predictions, and I'll go into my prediction as well because it's very similar. Yes, I forecast a severe economic crash, and there's a couple ways this will play out. But yes, I'm very keyed in on all this right now. Yes, Feds are they're in a hard or between a rock and a hard place, right? Inflation's starting to soar. But interest rates are the only way to do that is to raise interest rates, which will kill the markets. And the markets are in a massive bubble, and it will pop the bubble. And so do you keep the party going, or are you the guy that ends the party and everyone hates you, or do you let the party go out of control and then everyone hates you, right? So I think what's going to happen is there's already like some jitters in the market because the Fed says they're going to raise the rates, and they're talking about three rate increases this year. I think what'll happen is they will either raise or they're about to raise, and everyone's going to freak out, and they'll or they'll come up with a reason to hold. I think they'll let the party keep going until at least till close to the end of the year, maybe into 2023, and then the party is going to crash, and it's going to be.
Why do you
bad.
think it'll go that long?
So here's the other part. I think so. We're in a bubble, and I think the market will continue to rise. I think there's going to be a big, they call it a blow off top. It will continue to go up because everyone has money, everyone's flush with cash, and they don't know where to put it. And the best place you're getting returns is in these like mega cap tech stocks, and so people keep putting money into them, which makes them rise. So they keep putting money into them because it makes them rise. And so it's like right now there's only 25% of the S&P 500 is actually on a bull cycle is actually like doing well. And it's the really big stocks. And they're like they're holding up the rest of the market. And it's a massissive bubble. And so it's going to pop. But
I just dumped on my S&P and I didn't know that. I'm glad I just dumped it. I'm probably a year early, but
that's what I'm saying, right? The party is just getting started, but so yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Wow.
But
interesting.
Anyway, so I'm so I think I don't know if it'll happen this year, right? I think it could. I think the Feds will give into public opinion and they will keep the party going. But here's the thing. I think it has nothing to do with who's in office and policies. It's our debt. Our debt is, that's the thing. They can't raise interest rates because our debt is so high. 10% of our GDP goes to paying the debt, our interest right now, which is almost 0%, right? As soon as we start increasing that and we start taking on debt that's at 1%, 2%, 3%, 50% of our GDP will go to interest.
Holy crap.
3%. We can't afford. We've been borrowing like incredible amounts the last few years on debt that is going to come. We have about a 5-year life on our debt, and so as soon as this will all catch up to us really quick, and it's going to kill us. So anyway, that's
start auctioning off states.
Anyway, this is like a culmination of like 40 years of policy, right?
Yeah.
So
it's out of control spending. Irresponsible spending for 40 years. What else are we gonna do? U.S. is gonna lose its credit rating.
Well, that'd be great.
The world economy will crash.
Yes,
probably.
We're the reserve currency. It'll be insane. So
you guys know who the last president was who had a balanced budget?
Calvin Coolidge.
No, it was Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton had a balance.
He never paid off the deficit.
No,
he did make. I think he was one of the few that made like decent strides at it.
Yep,
right?
he tried.
They were paying, and I hats off to him, right?
Calvin. Okay, so I think Calvin Coolidge was the last one that actually didn't spend, but didn't add to the debt. I think so. It was.
Yeah,
which was over 100 years ago. That's why
Here's the thing.
He's one of the top 3 presidents of all time.
The government will always do what the people say, and the people will always choose easy, right? They'll always kick that can down the road, always. Yep. So
my kids will pay for it.
Yeah,
even though we're having less kids.
I was gonna say, you mean we're going to pay for this? We're going to pay for this.
Taurus.
Wow.
All right.
Keep believing that. The 3 of us are going to pay for this.
And so I think we're all agreed. Things are not looking good.
They're looking great right now. They're going to look terrible in 6 months to a year is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's interesting. We all came to the table with that.
Yeah.
We didn't collude on this, people. We all came to that separately. Interesting.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Ryan, you want to?
Yeah. So I have a COVID related prediction. More and more Americans are going to finally realize that the pandemic is over and effectively has been for some time. I say that recognizing that there is a massive wave of infections with Omicron right now, but more and more people are realizing that the metrics that matter with COVID are not infections, but hospitalizations and deaths. Check the latest charts. Correct. States across the US have their highest rates of infection of the entire pandemic, but hospitalization and death rates are largely unchanged. And I literally checked this morning. Infection rates around the world are the highest they've been during the entire pandemic, and death rates are actually going down right now, which I thought was pretty fascinating. This latest wave of Omicron is the virus telling us that it is mutated to become endemic instead of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of people die every year from the flu, but we don't call that a pandemic. The same will be true of COVID from now on, but we need to stop calling that a pandemic. That said, I think it would be awesome if Americans who are hyper individualistic would learn one lesson from the pandemic: wear a mask when you are sick and need to be in public. Right. Masks are far more effective at preventing someone from spreading a disease than they are in keeping people from getting a disease, which is a message some public health folks have tried to make clear to Americans, but Americans just hear mask equals protect yourself. The Japanese, as Tom is very well aware, have worn masks when sick for years, for decades, because their society is more collectivistic and they actually care about each other. I doubt this will happen in the US since Americans are so self-centered and egotistical, but it would be nice. So, can we agree that more Americans will conclude that the pandemic is over?
But well, what's that? What does that mean? How will that manifest itself? What's your prediction on?
Well, I mean, people are going to stop wearing masks. People are going to stop not that people are social distancing anyway. People are going to stop isolating. So they're going to get a COVID diagnosis and not care. Yeah, I have stories that I could tell, but my wife would kill me if I actually made this public. So I'm not going to say anything about this at all. Maybe after we're done and the recording's over, I'll tell you something. But I think that's just what's going to happen. People are just going to be like, come on, it's time to move on, right? Like, this is just reality now.
Josh?
I think most people that are going to do that already have.
But I don't think the people who are still doing it can maintain it for much longer. That's my thought.
Well, I'm going to get to that with one of my points.
Well, then we should get your point next.
Okay, we will. So as for the mask thing, sure, the Japanese model is smart. People are done wearing masks. I'm not going to wear a mask. I would actually say it's more important that people freaking wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. And I always, when I get after people, when I see them don't wash their hands because it's disgusting, they say, "Oh, my dad didn't teach me to pee," or "My dad taught me not to pee on my hands," or something stupid like that. And it's such a dumb argument because you're washing your hands to protect everybody else, not because you peed on your hands, you moron. Okay, so same sentiment with the mask thing. Sure, if you want to be a good citizen and respect your friends and neighbors, don't be a vector. Okay, it drives me crazy when I go to church and there's somebody sick at church, or they bring their kid into the nursery and they got a snotty nose. Just stay home. Okay, don't be that guy. So I agree with your mask sentiment, but I don't agree that it's going to completely go away. And so
I don't think it'll completely go away. To my point on the mask sentiment, I have stopped. Like, I'm in Florida, right? So I don't have to wear a mask pretty much anywhere. I did actually wear a mask. Was it Saturday or Sunday? I went shopping, right? I went to Costco and I went to our Publix, our grocery store. And I have not been wearing a mask since they said we don't have to wear a mask, because I don't want to, and I'm not going to, because I don't think this pandemic is a big deal. But I did because I had a cold. So I put on my mask and was walking around wearing my mask because I had a cold. And I was like, I'm protecting all of you guys because I'm not worried about this for me. I'm worried about you. And I think that's what I'm going to do from now on, because mask wearing has become normalized in the US, even though people are doing it for the wrong reason.
So here's my take. I think I agree with you that people are done. They're done with they're like
pandemic's over.
Yeah, and I don't know if like they recognize it's over. I think we're done. Like, and like if you're in, I mean, Utah, like no one's doing anything really. No. The only time I wear a mask is to church, and they asked us to, and so I do. But
and I don't.
but I do think I disagree with Josh. I think like there are plenty of people that wear masks around me, and I don't think it's a big deal, and I don't think anyone makes it a big deal. And I think that's going to be a thing for a while, right? Of people wearing masks, and I don't think there's any stigma around it. And I think that's a cultural change, right? And I was talking to somebody. I was like, "Remember the first time you saw someone wearing a mask in a store?" And you're like, "Weirdo." and then like a few months later, we're all wearing masks, and there's the one guy not wearing the mask, and you're like, "Weirdo." Right? And so true. But I think our culture's changed, and I think that we're gonna take a few things away from it, but yes, life is just gonna go on. We can't. do the
Not
lockdowns
sustainable.
anymore. And I think
No.
the Omicron is just, I think it's exactly what you said, Ryan. It's a different, it's an endemic. It'll be like the flu, a little more potent, but
Omicron's
like
a
the flu,
blessing.
it's just
It's
gonna,
going to give
is.
more
might be.
protection, and it's not very deadly. It's been
Right.
a good thing.
It's pushing out maybe the other ones that are more
Yeah.
deadly, right? And it might be a great thing. So but yeah, everyone's like, there's not a thing. If they were like, you got to wear masks here in our county here, I'd just be like, no, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I just
I
be
don't wear
like,
it
I don't
anymore.
care. And I don't even think. Here's the thing: I don't even think people will enforce it, because we went to a basketball game and they were like, you have to be vaccinated. And my wife's not vaccinated, and so she had to get a test, and so she went and got her test, and it was a negative, and we were going to the thing, and they're like, the security is like, okay, go through, right? I'm like pulling up my card, like, just go through, and she's like, oh, let me pull up my test. They're just like, just go through.
Was this a Jazz game?
Yes.
Yeah,
they
I did the same thing a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I pulled up my card, and they're just like, just go.
Yeah.
But they don't check for anything. I accidentally took my big pocket knife. They didn't care.
Right. And I think there's these mandates that are going on. Like there's like some controversy about down in Salt Lake. They're like, oh, we're going to do a mask mandate. And I'm like, who's going to enforce this? Right. It's like,
that's what I'm going to talk about next. They did. They announced the mask mandate. It's effective through February 10th or something in Salt Lake.
But I'm like, are they?
Good luck.
Exactly. Or good luck.
Well, so I do think I'll just give a bonus one. My university just sent out an email today about COVID policy for the next semester. And I thought it was interesting. They finally, because, the science has come out on this, unless you're wearing an N95 properly, right, which that matters. So it's got to be the right mask and worn properly. It's completely ineffective. It's like not wearing a mask. Right. So my university finally said, like, we encourage everybody to actually wear N95s and we'll hand those out to you. They bought a bunch of N95s. So this entire pandemic, they've been saying you got to wear a mask, but they haven't been policing what kind of mask, which means the masks have been doing nothing for this entire pandemic. And now they're like, let's do N95s. That's going to make the difference. And I'm like,
which leads perfectly into my point.
Okay.
All right.
Get your point.
Go do your point. I gotta.
Ryan and Tom, would you agree that liberals will continue to be hypocritical dicks about the coronavirus through 2022? Because that's what we're seeing.
Cheap shots.
But it's true. Okay.
To some degree, yeah.
It's not just liberals, but it's largely liberals, and they've got power through this, and they are not going to give it up. Okay. So let me just give a couple examples. Yeah. Australia just imprisoned Novak Djokovic. Did you hear about that? He went there to play tennis. They did.
I know. It's kind of like he's
under
in prison.
Guard. He couldn't see anybody that came with him. They imprisoned Djokovic because he came there to play tennis because he wouldn't tell them if he'd been vaccinated or not.
No. It's more complicated. He actually got COVID in December, and under their own rules, if you had COVID, that gives you immunity, so you don't actually have to get the shot. So he said, I want a waiver for having to have a shot because I had COVID in December, and they initially gave him a visa. And then when he got there and everybody's like, hey, he's kind of an anti-vaxxer, he didn't want the shot. Then they kind of backtracked, and now they're saying, we're going to kick you out of the country, even though it violates their own policies.
What were my exact words? They will continue to be hypocritical dicks. That's what they just did.
In Australia, they are doing that right now. I agree.
Macron in France, what did he just say? I'm going to pester, or whatever the word he used, anybody that's not unvaccinated. I'm going to make their life miserable. What a psychopath. Why would the president of a country say that about, maybe a third? I don't know how many people in France are vaccinated. That's insanity. Okay. And you got Biden who has been wrong about this the whole time. Okay. He was saying Trump was wrong to do travel bans and that kind of stuff, and then he did all the same stuff. He's not wrong about it. And now he's trying to force companies. He's going to fine companies if they don't mandate vaccinations for their employees. This is insanity. Okay. And now my favorite one. We've had all of these politicians, mostly liberal politicians. They do these crazy lockdowns, and then they violate their own lockdowns. So my favorite person in the world, Alexandria Ocasio-Crazy Eyes, she just 2 weeks ago.
Cheap shot central tonight.
Seriously.
You gave me carte blanche, baby. So 2 weeks ago, she couldn't turn up to a vote on Capitol Hill due to the ongoing public health emergency. Throughout the pandemic, she has consistently supported mask mandates and accused Republicans of undermining faith in science, masks, and COVID itself. And Ryan, where was she last week?
I don't know, but probably
vacationing in Florida at parties.
Oh, our place.
Yeah, she came down to your neck of the woods. Why? Because there's no mask mandate. So there's all
she
these
has
videos.
COVID right now. Did you hear? She has COVID.
Good.
Oh,
Hope
no.
she dies from it.
But I did hear about that, and she
you
wasn't
may
wearing
want
a
to
mask.
backtrack on
I don't want anybody to die.
Thank you.
She's just so hypocritical because she said it's an ongoing emergency. She's not going to go to a vote on Capitol Hill. She helped lock down New York, and where did she go?
To Florida to party.
Yeah, well, and DeSantis was classy about it. Said, "Welcome to Florida. Hope you have a great time." Okay,
and she. I think the biggest thing is she wasn't wearing a mask down there.
There's videos of her at. Yeah. She's at like a trans bar or something, dancing on stage, right. And there's hundreds of people around her. She's not wearing a mask. It's so freaking hypocritical.
Wow, I didn't see that, but that's totally hypocritical. I'll grant that.
Disgusting.
If you're going to play it one way, you got to play it the other way too.
Exactly. If they would,
I'll play that.
If they actually believed that these lockdowns and the mask mandates were useful, they would follow them. Okay, it's this weird power grab, and they just don't want to give it up. And I don't see them giving it up anytime soon. It's bizarre. It's disgusting, and I hate the hypocrisy of it.
Well, so
Ryan, let's hear your response.
I would say I think what's happening is as the science is coming out, right? And you're not entirely wrong, Josh. I'm certainly not going to disagree with you. As the science increasingly is coming out and they're realizing that this is not a fight that you can win unless you're going to be China, and even China is going to lose this eventually. Yeah. Omicron's going to blow through China at some point. What you're seeing, and I'm saying this of a left-leaning government right now, is that all the stuff that kind of the people who were pushing back on the mask mandates and the lockdowns and everything a year ago and saying maybe things aren't as crazy as people think they are, that's all actually becoming accepted now. So the one that I thought was really interesting, about a year ago, there were a bunch of people who were like, your numbers on COVID deaths and hospitalizations are a little weird. You're basically saying somebody who has a heart attack and goes to the hospital for a heart attack, but then they have COVID, that's a COVID admit.
Or people that got in a year ago, stuff.
Yeah, a year ago, anybody who said that, they were like, "Why are you a vaccine denier? Why are you anti, everything?" And then, what was it? 3 weeks ago, the CDC was like, people who go to the hospital for a heart attack but happen to have COVID, that's not a COVID admit. They just came around to this, and people were saying that about a year ago. Mm-hmm. So I think it's shifting, right? And I hate to say this, but this actually goes to your point, right, of the hypocrisy. The fact that the Biden administration can't stop the pandemic is leading them to concede these things to make it seem like the pandemic isn't as bad as it is. And I don't think it is bad because I already said it's over, right? There's no pandemic anymore. This is an endemic disease, move on. But them trying to look good is actually leading them down the path of recognizing some of the criticisms that they were kind of getting hammered with a year ago by the people they labeled as, anti-vaxxers, anti-science, everything. And now they're beginning to realize actually, maybe those people were right. It's really frustrating on this particular issue.
Well, it's so weird to me that people don't just recognize that. People think it's a better look to just say, I was wrong about that. Sorry. They would look so much better if they just said, sorry. But
we got that
politicians in general just
can't do that.
They refuse to ever admit they're wrong, and it's such a bad look. Let me finish with, because Crazy Eyes Cortez, she said she didn't go to that Capitol Hill thing because of the ongoing public health emergency. And just before we started, I was scrolling through Facebook, and I think he's a rapper named Zuby. He said, an emergency does not last for 2+ years, which I like.
Not wrong.
Okay. Right. This is not, we're not in a state of emergency for this long. It just, sorry. People are burned out. It's not an emergency anymore. We're good. Move along. Quit being hypocrites.
All right. My response to that is, I think it's interesting because, it's a couple of things. It's the vaccine argument has really taken I think the wind has been blown out of it a lot because Omicron has not been responsive to the vaccine. And so all of a sudden it's like, you anti-vaxxers. And then it's like, well, everyone's getting it now who's been vaccinated and whatnot. And so I don't think that's really the liberals' fault. It was a great argument, right? It's like get vaccinated, you'll get protected, and it's now just what it is. And I think, and here's what's even interesting is I read the health of the Salt Lake County, the county next to us, when on the mask mandate, they said if you don't try to wear an N95 mask, but they even said, but we're trying to reserve N95 masks for healthcare workers. So
who should have them? Yeah, they're the ones who should have them.
They should have them. And so they're saying like, and we have limited supplies. So they're like, so really you shouldn't even be wearing them, right? That's like, don't be growing and hoarding them is what they're saying. They're like, don't clean them out. They're like, we need them for health workers. So it's almost like, don't do anything. And it's like, so I don't think it's like, I don't know. I don't think they're trying to be hypocritical, but like it's just the reality we're at right now. It's like, you're not stopping it and the vaccine's not effective against it. And it might not be as bad as it is. So it might not be a big deal anymore. But the last thing I was going to say was, I can't remember, but
I'll just jump in. I will say, the evidence does seem to suggest that the vaccine makes Omicron more mild, right? So it is having that effect. It's less lethal if you've been vaccinated, which I'm still hugely in favor of vaccines.
But, and it definitely was with the other variants.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that.
No, okay. The one thought I had about the hypocrisy was my brother made a good point, and he said, like Governor Newsom in California, Pelosi, AOC, they've all been caught at one point not wearing a mask in a restaurant, or I think Pelosi was at a hair salon where they weren't supposed to be. And his point was that these people all decided that what they were doing was okay, right? They were like, I know we have this mandate, but I think that in this case, I've decided that it's okay. And he's like, that's all that everyone else is asking for, is for us to say, hey, let us use our common sense and let us decide when we can and when we can't. And because clearly you think you can, you think that's you who set the rules are saying that there are times where it's appropriate. Let us make those same decisions. And I do think that's a good argument. And
Which one of your brothers made that argument?
Matt.
Okay, that sounds like a good Matt argument.
And I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense, right? Because you're like, sure, there's people that are definitely going to abuse it, but like, I think it's hard. It's the same thing of like making murder illegal. It's like, yeah, make it illegal, but people still are going to do it, right? And it's like you can't just be like, nope, never. You're like, and think that's going to. Let people kill when they want to kill, right?
That's the takeaway.
Maybe that's not the best example.
That's
the takeaway for the podcast tonight.
That was so good until your last couple of words.
All right, so let's move on to Ryan's final point here.
Okay, kind of political, but meta political, if you will. And I was prompted by this because of something I read in the news just yesterday. President Trump, who I'm loath to say his name anymore, but so be it, has a new social network coming out, right? So Trump's Truth Social, I'm predicting, will be a massive failure. Tens of thousands of people will download the app. If it is available, my guess is it'll be delayed for months because he can't manage anything, just to see what it's all about. It will basically be a new platform for Trump to shout from and spread more lies. People will lose interest, and it'll end up being a short-lived social network app that'll die and crash abysmally. The real concern here, however, is that millions of Americans continue to believe lies told by dictator wannabe Trump and those like him. I am genuinely afraid for American democracy. I recently saw a video that I think sums this up well. It's Timothy Snyder on The Daily Show, and I'm going to show that video if that's okay. So I have it pulled up, and it's like a 5-minute clip, but I'm only going to show starting at like 3:15, and it's like a minute of him summarizing this. So let me jump this over real quick and show it. He's a historian, I think from Yale or something. Not that matters, but I really liked what he had to say here. Come on, hey, Zoom. Work with me. There we go. So I'm going to share my sound, and I'll play this, and then I'll inject it in post. Here we go.
Us to learn from them what we can do to defend democracy. That's the book.
It's interesting that you say that, because I mean, like, some of these chapters are really fascinating in what they say. Like, for instance, chapter 10 here is believe in truth. And you write, to abandon facts is to abandon freedom. If nothing is true, then no one can criticize power, because there is no basis upon which to do so. If nothing is true, then all is spectacle. The biggest wallet pays for the most blinding lights. That's a powerful statement to make. Why is post-truth so powerful?
It goes back to your other question about fascism. So fascism says nothing's true, your daily life is not important, the facts that you think you understand are not important. All that matters is the myth of one nation that's together, the myth of the mystical connection with the leader. When we think of post-truth, we think it's something new, we think it's something that campuses, we think it's something irrelevant. Actually, what post-truth does is it paves the way for regime change. If we don't have access to facts, we can't trust each other. Without trust, there's no law. Without law, there's no democracy. So if you want to rip the heart out of a democracy directly, if you want to go right at it and kill it, what you do is you go after facts. And that's what modern authoritarians do. Step one, you lie yourself all the time. Step two, you say it's your opponents and the journalists who lie. Step three, everyone looks around and says, what is truth? There is no truth. And then resistance is impossible and the game's over.
Wow.
Anyway, I saw that. Somebody shared that, and I was like, damn, that's pretty compelling. Anyway, to wrap up my point, because that's the big part of it, can we agree that without basic facts that all Americans recognize, we are at risk of losing our democracy? And I put in parentheses, thus the premise of this podcast. Thoughts?
I absolutely agree with what he said and with your overarching premise. I wouldn't lay the blame of the facts, being wrong at Trump's feet, because the left is just as culpable, if not more culpable, at distorting facts and, saying a lie. The truth is a lie, and the lie is truth. Okay, the left can't even agree on what a man and a woman is anymore, right? But without,
it's complicated. Okay.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, but move on.
But I largely agree with what he's saying there. If we can't agree on basic facts, we are in trouble, and that is why we're doing the podcast. You're absolutely right, because we can't agree on basic facts anymore. 100%, I agree with that.
All right, here's
so
this goes in. So my prediction, one of my predictions was two parts. Was the economic crash. I think there'll be a severe economic crash, and here's what I think. I think people will lose their. I mean, you mess with the economy. It's you heard the thing. It's the economy, stupid, right? You screw with the economy. That's how power changes. Regimes changes very fast, right? So here's the second part of my prediction was that the economic crash will propel Trump or a Trump what's the word
person. Yeah, well, I don't think it'll be Trump. I
like
really
a DeSantis
don't think
or like a DeSantis.
DeSantis.
It's DeSantis. Sorry.
I hope it's him. I think he's good.
Well, yes, he's very Trump-like, and I think he's a populist, right? And I think what'll happen is it will propel him into, up to as a front runner or to become very popular. And I think either he will win Biden in the next election would be the good way, the peaceful way. The bad way is Biden gets impeached, thrown out, or disposed in some way. Like this. I'm talking like things are gonna get nasty, and we'll put DeSantis in not a good way, right? A very dictatorial, fascistic way. And I think then that will be the verge of the country coming to pieces, of like us, like on the brink of civil war, which I don't think will happen, but I think we'll get on the brink. And so that's I don't know if that's a 2022, but I think that's somewhere in the up to 2024 I in the cards. So
I think the right will have a fascistic takeover of the government.
I think an economic a severe economic downturn will change public opinion dramatically, all right, against
Sure.
current policies, which we all know aren't, everything that's happened is going to be is a culmination of 20 years of policy, but we'll blame it on the current one, and the far right will take up the opportunity to be like, hey, look these idiots, right? And if Trump's around or relevant at that time, he'll be like, yep, and they'll sort of like, it'll be a hard swing in popularity in like the populist movement of public opinion to bring that party into power, which I don't think is healthy, right? I don't think that'll be a healthy thing, but I think that's just going to happen. And I think, and that's the biggest issue, right? That Josh and I have as conservatives is keeping our party under control, right? And it's the same with Ryan and liberals. You have liberals and then you have progressives, right? And there's two groups that are fighting. It's just like the conservatives. We have far right and more conservative groups, and I think you got to keep those crazies under control, right? But I think if the economy goes out of control, I think you've lost it, and then they'll be like, "Oh, no,
let's talk about that for a second, because something Jordan Peterson says, Ryan's favorite person in the world, is the right.
I have no opinion on Jordan Peterson yet. I'm just reading his first chapter.
Yeah,
leave it alone.
Sorry, there was another part I wanted to say, but we can. But yeah.
Let me just touch on what you just said.
Yeah.
He talks about how because you're right. The center right, the moderate right needs to keep the far right in check, and the moderate left needs to keep the far left in check. But the right knows when the far right has crossed the line. It's when they're being racist bigots. Okay. And that's when we go, we don't want anything to do with you guys.
Or the January 6th stuff, right?
Or storming the Capitol, which.
Yeah. That's the far right did that, and the rest of us are going, guys, that's stupid. You're not representing us. Don't do that. The left doesn't know where to draw that line. And Jordan, famously in debates, asked leftists, where does the left draw that line? And they always have some dumb milli-mouth answer like, well, when violence happens. Okay, that's just common sense. That's where one of the big problems on the left. They don't know where to draw that line, and that's why the far left has a lot of power, because the moderate leftists like Ryan haven't drawn that line and said, okay, you guys are being idiots. You're not representing me.
Well, and I don't think the right's done a very good job of censoring. Like I think they would have had a hard time with what's condoning the January 6th.
I don't think so. Most
sitting Congress people, they didn't.
No, a couple people were in support of that, but most of the Republican congressmen condemned it.
Okay, but think about this, Josh.
The
committee that's investigating it right now has how many Republicans on it?
I don't know. 2.
Yeah,
and they were the only ones who voted to actually investigate it.
Right.
All of the other Republicans voted against investigating.
I agree with the committees.
The FBI's already investigated it and said there was, there was nothing behind it.
I'm in agreement.
There was nothing behind.
Political committees are just stupid. They're political weapons.
They couldn't get. They tried initially to get a bipartisan committee to investigate it, and Republicans wouldn't, because it looks bad for Republicans, because it's the far right. Because it's the far right, and that is basically the voice of the party right now.
This was I actually considered this to be one of my future predictions, was that the left would continue to celebrate January 6th like it was Independence Day for the next 10 years, because it's just the one thing they have to glom onto, that 100 people and a dude in a buffalo hat invaded the Capitol. Woo!
Well,
nobody else was behind that.
Let's downside. Let's minimize the fact that they tried to overturn a Democratic vote, and they stormed the Capitol, and they built gallows to hang Mike Pence. Come on, let's minimize that. And they put shit all over the walls. Like, come on.
Your point though about the left and the right and the
I was just adding to what you were saying, because I liked what you were saying. I just wanted to make that point. The right knows when the line is crossed. The left doesn't.
So the last thing I did want to say was, I think I agree with Ryan. Trump's app, I can't remember the name of it.
Truth Social
is I don't think it'll be delayed. I think it'll be delayed because of security issues. People will get on, and then it's going to go down, and then it's going to go back up, and it's going to go down, just because I think groups will be attacking it actually. But I think we're at this weird crossroads of truth, right? Of like who holds truth. And I totally agree with that. What that guy said was dead on, of like what he say, what is truth? And then when nobody knows that, then you can rise to power, right? Any group can rise to power. And I think like deep fake technology scares the crap out of me, right? Of like, you can make anyone look like they've done anything. And it's like, what is real anymore? And then I think also the mainstream media has destroyed themselves, their credibility. And the surveys, bears out in surveys, through attacking Trump, right? They've just gone crazy on Trump. And I think they've really destroyed their credibility. And just stuff like Joe Rogan, media was saying he was taking horse tranquilizers. And Joe Rogan brought the CNN's doctor on his thing, and he grilled him, right? And the doctor finally admitted, he's like, yeah, I don't know why they said that, right? And he's like, I was not taking horse tranquilizers, I was taking a legitimate thing, blah blah blah, what's going on about it. Ivermectin, right?
Ivermectin, yeah.
And he but it was just like, why would they? He was really just breaking him over the coals. Like, why would he do that? Why would he do that? And I was just looking at something the other day. Joe Rogan has 120 active listeners, and they were comparing that to like
120 million.
Yes, sorry.
It's like, wow, we've got as many as Joe Rogan. We're killing it. When do we get our 8-figure
I want my
contract
100 million
with
Spotify deal? And he, and so they were showing like CNN's active daily numbers and these other channels, and like Joe Rogan has a bigger voice than a lot of these mainstream media.
Yeah, all of those guys put together.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And Joe Rogan, honestly, he's a centrist, right? He has opinions on both sides.
He does,
and I think he's pretty well rounded. And I think people are attracted to that because they're like, I can't trust you. I can't trust you. I can't trust you. You all have these agendas. I'm like, I'm going to listen to Joe Rogan. And
he's a terrible scientist.
Right. But I think he's the everyday man, right?
He is. He totally is. I'll concede that in a heartbeat. But when he starts talking about science,
to be a scientist.
I know, but when he talks about science to people who actually do science, it drives me bonkers. This is why I can't listen to his podcast.
Such an elitist.
I tried listening to his podcast.
He's open-minded. He knows he's not. That's why he invites those people on, not to tell them.
Josh, I totally get that.
Asking them, he's trying to learn. That's what people
I
care
get
about.
that. Well, sometimes he says stuff that's just totally wrong. And I should be more sympathetic to Joe Rogan. He's an atheist. He is a centrist. Like, there's a lot to like about him. But I tried listening to his podcast, and when he would spout off on stuff, I was just like, dude, come on. Read a scientific article. And then I realized I can't say that kind of stuff. Oh, he's totally whacked out theories about stuff.
He'll go on about, but I don't listen. He swears too much for me, so I have a hard time listening to him. But I catch a lot of snippets on YouTube, and I'm like,
that's exactly what I do.
He gets a very well-rounded group of guests, right? He gets from the left, from the right, and he's pretty. I know he's pretty popular. I'm just saying that, like, he's rising to more popular than established news networks, because I think there's a huge credibility issue with them. And I think, so I agree with Josh that, like, the left media has done it to themselves in a lot of ways by destroying their credibility. That it's hard. I think the right's done it a lot too. I mean, Fox News is, what you're getting with Fox News, but I think the left is now you know what you're getting there too. And I think that it's tragic.
I think the answer is we all need to smoke marijuana on this podcast, right? Because that's what he does, and that's why everybody watches it.
Mm-hmm. Is that legal in Florida?
Medical marijuana. It's legal. Medical marijuana is legal in Utah now.
Mm-hmm. I considered making one of my points a shot at CNN, because, like, every day they have somebody else on the network being accused with sexual misconduct. But just this last week, one of their reporters went off on CNN saying, it's not balanced. The way they treat it is so one-sided. I mean, she went on and on about how crappy CNN was. I can't believe she didn't get fired. So to Tom's point, even the people working at CNN, and I would imagine the people at Fox realize this too. They know they're conflating the truth.
Yeah,
it's shocking.
But I'm trying to bring it back to Ryan's point that that's an enabler for chaos and fascism, right? Fascism.
Yeah.
Is this destruction of, like, of
Truth.
trusted, institutions. So anyway,
Josh,
all right.
did you have another prediction?
Yeah.
Josh's final prediction.
I never said if I agreed with your last one, but
Oh,
I like
Oh,
Tom's
sorry.
summation. We'll just
did you
go
agree
that.
with my last one? I thought you agreed with the guy.
Yeah, I thought you did too.
Yeah, you said you agreed with the guy.
Well, yeah, I did agree with the guy. Then you talked about something else. Anyway, yeah.
At the
I agree.
beginning, I said Truth Social was going to be a massive failure.
Oh yeah, that's what and my take on that was the only way it's going to work is if it either supplants one of the existing social media companies or if it innovates. So just on those grounds alone, I don't see it as being successful because I don't think it's going to innovate on anything.
No. So
but I haven't really looked into it.
My understanding, I happened to catch an article. I thought it was really interesting. Basically, it looks just like they took an open source product that is a social media platform that's just open source, and they basically skinned it to look just like Twitter, because that's what Trump likes. So they're basically making it Twitter, even though the guts are something else, right? Because that's what he's comfortable with, and he wants Twitter. He wants Twitter back. He sued Twitter to get back. Yeah. So it's going to look just like Twitter, except they're changing the names of all the likes and everything, right? They're changing all the names, so it's going to look the same. So if they're going to just try and be Twitter, there's no way that they're going to replace Twitter. No, so it's going to fail. It's going to be a massive
Twitter
fail.
Has the momentum.
Yep.
I do think there will be some conservative platform that comes out because, and you can call it a misconception if you want, but there is a conception out there that all the mass media forums are all liberal leaning and they're kicking the conservatives off. So I think something will rise. I don't know if it'll be Trump's thing. I doubt it.
I kind of agree with you, Josh. I mean, even the fact that even if Trump gets on this, if he gets this platform up, what he says, it's going to be people are going to be listening because they're going to put it in news articles, because I mean, that's what they've done the last 4 years. Trump said this. This.
Like CNN's going to plaster it everywhere because it gets them ratings, and they're failing without Trump.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
They should just ignore
him. People are going to accuse us of collusion on our points because our first 2 points were swapped, but they were the same. Right. And my third point, you took a shot at Trump, even though he's not a president anymore. That's kind of sad and pathetic, but I'm going to take another shot at Biden here.
Imagine that. Josh with cheap shots at liberals.
Let's hear your third prediction, Josh.
Ryan and Tom, would you agree that Biden needs to and likely will resign this year since he is a dementia-ridden wanker?
Didn't you say dementia-ridden wanker in the last one?
That's why it's funny. Okay. If you want to show the video, I just now I know I've been taking cheap shots at liberals. I found the most objective video I could find on this, because if you just go on YouTube, there's a bunch of funny videos of Biden gaffes and Biden fails of where it's obvious he's losing his mind. So I found one from Sky News Australia, which is more objective. Okay, they don't have a dog in this fight.
They're very not objective, but let's watch.
Are they really conservative? I just found one from another country because I figured they'd be more objective than some dude making a funny video. Yeah, but it's worth watching.
Okay,
Ryan, what are these ads? Are you working out a lot?
Seriously?
No, but there. Okay, we ready?
Really,
go ahead.
Here we go.
But first, to the utterly deplorable and inept US president whose mental decline can no longer be ignored. Not by the Democrats, not by his handlers, and not even by his media allies who steadfast refused to cover his cognitive issues during the election campaign. Not only did they fail to cover it, they attacked those who did. Anyone who has observed Joe Biden in recent years could attest to his cognitive decline, his incoherent rants, his inability to answer the simplest of softball questions, his incidents of irrational anger, and his general confused state. This is a man who has been in public life for decades. He used to be an elegant, authoritative speaker. This is what we get now.
And the beautiful story of the friendship between our two nations, the United States of America and the Jewish and democratic state of Israel.
He's clearly asleep there.
I'm not suggesting he was snoozing, just being inattentive
Is that
and
what- is it-
fatigued, possibly. He certainly seemed
This is
inattentive
clearly
and
not
fatigued
objective,
when he fronted
darn.
the media following
Josh.
the
This is the
suicide
one
bombing
most-
that
most
killed
objective one I
dozens
could
of
find on
Afghans
this subject.
and 13 US
No,
service
this is like
members.
Fox News for Australia.
May God
Okay.
bless you all, and may God protect the troops and all those standing watch for America. We have so much to do. It's within our capacity to do it. We just have to remain steadfast. Steadfast.
This sort of performance is nothing new.
Is there any more here?
Remember, he spent most of the election
Or
campaign
is this
hiding
the-
in his house.
There's one more video, one more clip of him I want to watch.
All right.
Was ranting about
Why are you so
corn
quick
pop
to get rid of
and
this?
his
No.
hairy legs.
Here, can I pause for a second?
Sure.
So Debbie and I, my wife, we do watch like the Tonight Show and some of these other shows, right? So Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. We watch clips on YouTube of them, and they make fun of Biden being, old and his gaffes all the time, and we genuinely are concerned about that. Like, so,
Yeah,
so
it's
I get
sad.
that, right?
It's sad at this point. It's not even funny
well-
anymore. It's sad.
I mean, sure, but I don't think he's like, they have different scales for like Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't think he's so far down the path that he has no idea what he's doing.
Right.
He's old and he has gas.
I don't know.
I will just fully admit
because
that.
he has handlers constantly. Like his wife will always be like shepherding him around, in front of the camera. Like, Joe, get over here. No, don't say that. Come over here. So I don't think that's accurate. I don't think he's there.
I have no
basically
idea
at
how
all.
bad it is. Sure, and that's fine. I don't want him to run in 2024. I think he's too old, and I don't think he's really competent.
So
So I agree
I'm
with.
pretty
the
sure he
general
won't. That the interview he gave a couple weeks ago, they asked him if he's going to run, and he said, "If I'm in good health, if I'm in the health now, I'll run." But then she said, the president was also asked if a potential rematch with former President Donald Trump would make him more likely to run for re-election, and he said, "You're trying to tempt me now. Sure. Why would I not run against Donald Trump if he were the nominee? That would increase the prospect of running." So the subtext there is he's not planning on running.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to run.
That's the subtext. He'll be 82 or something if he
Right.
runs again.
He'll be old.
There's no
and,
way.
Yeah, and I really don't want him to run. I think he's not entirely wrong. If Trump actually gets the nomination from the Republican Party, who can the Democrats put up who can beat him is the
Nobody.
problem.
'Cause-
Biden beat him, right? But we know Biden can beat him because Biden beat him. Would he do it again? I don't know. His approval ratings are in the toilet right
Pretty
now.
bad.
It's not
Yeah.
great, right? I mean,
and
they're
my
not as
thought
low
is,
as Trump's. Trump's were
if-
worse, but
If Kamala had better ratings because she's in the toilet too, I think
I
they would have
know.
already replaced him because
Well.
he's just a figurehead at this point. It's sad. That's the point I'm making. It's sad. Let the dude go sit in a retirement home. He should not be in public life.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
The
But
next clip in that video was even.
yeah,
That one's actually kind of funny. Some of them are funny, but it's
the
just
ones
sad
they
at this
showed
point.
weren't horrible. So
I
So
tried to
there
find-
are worse ones out there. That's what I'm
Maybe
saying. Like,
I
I've seen
don't know
worse
Sky
ones.
News.
Yeah.
You disagree, Ryan.
That what was the prediction?
I think he'll be gone this year. I think they'll
Oh.
replace him with Kamala.
I
I
would
don't
be
think his health can
astonished.
sustain it. I mean, there's
I don't
the
think he's
videos of him.
unhealthy. I think he's physically. I think he's fairly healthy.
No,
Mentally,
there's
I
the videos
think
of him
it-
trying to climb up to Air Force One and he falls on the
Yeah.
stairs like 4 times. I mean, he's old.
Trump couldn't walk down a ramp, right? Like, come on. So they're old. They're all old, right? Like, they're older than our parents, Josh. Like
I
that is
get
true.
it.
Maybe not
I get
Tom's
it.
dad. Tom, how old is John?
I think he's 82.
He's
Is
82.
he really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, he's
Yeah,
a triplet.
32.
He's going to live to 150.
Yeah,
know.
he'll outlive all of us.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
John will never die. Like, that is the truth. But no. So you would never tell looking at John that he's older than these guys. But they're older than our parents, and
Well, it's
our
the
parents
cognitive
are
decline.
okay. Yeah,
Okay, when
I think it's starting
a
with
couple
him,
years
for
ago
sure.
when he had his not a battle with Ryan.
Debate.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the debate with
Oh.
Paul Ryan.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, Paul Ryan's going to wipe the floor with him, and Biden won. Biden beat him, and that wasn't that long ago. Now he can't stay awake when the Israeli prime minister is talking to him. It's
No, I'm
there.
not disagreeing with the general. I don't think he's going to get polled this year, right? So
I
you've
think he will.
got basically, effectively, I mean, it's not even 3 more years, right? It's like 2 more years that he's got to stay in office.
Yeah.
And that last 6 months or so,
I don't think he's going to make
he
it.
effectively doesn't even have to be in office, because whoever is going to be the replacement, Kamala Harris is going to be either the candidate or the next VP candidate as well, which would be really awkward to take a black woman or mixed race woman and say, you did great as VP, we're going to keep you as VP, and find another white male to step in. But that's probably what the Democratic Party is going to do.
She hasn't done too well.
Well, I mean,
her,
that point
public
beside
image.
it, right? The optics look terrible of taking the first black woman who's gotten a high position.
You just stay there.
Stay right there. And that that's what's going to happen, right?
Well,
because she's not popular enough.
Yeah,
she's not popular enough to actually get the ticket.
But who do the liberals have that could beat
Buttigieg?
Decent.
Buttigieg.
Oh,
I think you do.
That was my ticket. That's literally the ticket I voted for, was Buttigieg and Harris.
He's a failed mayor of South Bend, Indiana. That's his claim to fame. He's got nothing.
Here's my take.
Okay, your take.
My take is I think this comes back to the same thing, is we give our presidents too much credit for everything. Like Biden could just die in his sleep and like the country would basically keep going. It's just we put a lot of blame on
I'm not saying it wouldn't.
And to be honest, like, yeah, my dad's 82. My dad is it's visibly like has slowed down, right? In cognitively, physically, right? And I don't know if that's a bad thing, right? It's like he still makes good decisions most of the time. It's just he's slower and he has made some dumb mistakes, like some things, but I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal, right? I think the bigger thing is Biden is seen as very weak. He's seen as a Jimmy Carter right now. I've heard that comparison and I can see it, right? He's just not taking really strong issues on anything, but it's actually good. I don't want the problem is we're getting pulled apart by extremists, right? Trump is an extremist. You got Bernie Sanders as an extremist, right? And you're like, we don't want those people in office. We want a centrist, right? It's just, I wish we had someone who was a little strong, like who was, I don't know, a little stronger. And so here's the thing. I don't think he'll leave office, but but to my prediction, I think he may not even finish his term. I think if the economy turns, people will turn against him in a very strong way. And, and I don't think that's like, because you're dumb, you're like,
to your point, I would like, and I've got 2 comments here. I would like someone who's stronger, who would actually stand up to Putin over the Ukraine issue now and say, oh yeah, go ahead, invade Ukraine. We will send forces in. Because right now we are totally backing down to Putin's posturing in Ukraine.
Well,
he put 100,000 troops there.
And you would argue that Obama was good.
Well, yes, but I would like somebody who actually goes toe to toe with Putin right now. Do I want a war? No, because both of us have nuclear weapons, right? That's terrifying. But
Obama already set that precedent and let him annex all of the Crimea.
That's fine. Let me get my point out, right? Okay, I want somebody who's being stronger. And so this is to Tom's point. Like, I would want somebody stronger. My second point is, I saw a post by a very left-leaning friend. I wouldn't call him radical left, but a very left-leaning friend who said he voted for Biden hoping that he would actually enact some leftist policies. And so far, he's been disappointed on everything. So to Tom's point that he's a centrist, he absolutely is. This is not a radical progressive administration that is pushing through all sorts of radical left policies. It's a left of center, but pretty centrist administration that is doing pretty centrist things. I think that's pretty true. Those of us who are to the left actually see the administration as pretty substantially disappointing when it comes to things that we actually
because of the policies that you wanted, the agenda items.
I would love to see things even further to the left.
No, I've read a lot about that, right? Like AOC, Bernie, they're upset,
totally disappointed. Yeah, we haven't gotten hardly anything that we wanted.
What is that, guys? There's that news reporter that's gone to a whole bunch of different. I can't remember his name, but he was calling for Joe's resignation the other day.
Matt Taibbi?
No, the other douchebag. He used to be a football reporter too.
I don't know.
Because Joe's not far enough left. You need to stand up to the Republicans and kill them, or they're going to destroy or democracy, you need to resign. So people on the left, yes, what you're
People on
saying
the left
Zach,
are not happy. Yeah.
but some of his policies are, I mean,
Well,
Bernie's.
I said he's left of center. So there's no
Well,
question
but
he's
you got
left of
people like
center, but
Bernie
he's not
Sanders
radical left.
who are full on socialists,
Yeah.
are big players in his.
Everyone's a conservative compared to Bernie, right?
Yeah, and Bernie's a big player
Pretty
in
much.
Biden's. Man, I'm struggling with words tonight. We got to do these things earlier.
His political agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, with some of the legislation they've been trying to get through, but they've just been trying to negotiate with what's his name, Joe Manchin, and that has pulled everything all the way back to the center. So Bernie Sanders starts.
Heavens for
I mean,
Joe.
Well, I mean, so think about it, right? You take the person you can find who's furthest to the left, they give their opening pitch. This is classic bargaining techniques, right? Here's our opening pitch, and it's way far to the left.
Yep.
And then we just slowly move to the center until we hit the center. And then Joe Manchin was like, and I'm pulling the rug out of that too. So nothing's going to happen. Effectively, nothing's going to happen, which gets all the way back to my first point is we have a stalemate right now. The Senate is literally split 50-50 with, Kamala Harris being the deciding vote. So they're getting some stuff through, but their entire agenda is basically deadlocked because they can't override the, not
Filibuster.
the veto, the filibuster. And the House keeps passing stuff, right? House is passing stuff left and right. They pass all this stuff and it hits the Senate,
Stops
and the
the
Senate's
Senate.
like, meh, we can't do anything. So
Good.
effectively,
That's how it's
nothing's
supposed to be.
happening.
That's how it's
Well,
supposed to be.
I mean, we kind of need to do some things, like balancing our budget would be nice.
They're not going to do it, though. You already admitted that. The
I know.
Democrats are not going to balance the budget. So why
But
let
neither
them
are
just keep
Republicans.
port-
Republicans aren't going to do it
Agreed.
either.
Agreed. We're rehashing this. We've come full circle.
Right.
So-
You want to hear my final point?
Yeah,
My
let's
final
hear it.
prediction.
Tommy's take, my favorite part of the day.
Well, I gave you my first two already. Major economic problems, and then an eventual coup or the disposition of the standing president. But third is, I think we're going to see climate change is going to become. We're going to see more and more severe consequences of climate change. And this is what I think. Actually, I have this interesting thought. I think Utah is going to change. I think Utah is one, just because I live here, but I think other places are going to see permanent climate changes to their climate. I think Utah is going to become a moderate climate. I think over the next 5 years, but I think we're going to start seeing this. Our winters are getting milder and milder, but I think that they're actually going to start getting wetter soon. And I think even though we're in a severe drought, I think they're going to turn the corner on that, and I think it's going to get wetter. And I think we're going to become a moderate climate instead of a high desert. No
way.
I don't know what'll happen. Like Florida, I think we're going to see places like we're going to see things like that all over the country where things are less.
Climate is actually going to change.
Yeah, and just traditional seasons will be kind of uprooted. We're going to see them change. They're going to become different than they normally were. So I think that's coming.
I disagree with both of you. I don't think Florida's okay. I think Florida's going to be taken over by an alligator king.
A python king, not a python king.
Yeah.
Well, they'll fight. So far, the python. Well, it's kind of I don't know if you've seen this photo. There's a great photo of a python that tried to swallow an alligator.
Yes.
Have you
They
seen
both
this?
died?
Yeah, they both died. Right.
Yeah, I
So
have
it
seen
gets
that.
it halfway in, and then it explodes.
Terrifying.
That's my backyard, right?
Yeah, I know. That's why I say Florida's not okay. But I don't know that we're going to see widespread change. Why do you think Utah's going to get wetter? I think it's going to, because Ryan and I discussed this when he was out here a couple weeks ago.
I have the solution for Utah. I have the solution, Tom.
I think it might work. I think the big problem here in the Midwest and in the West is we're all reliant on, the rivers and the snowfall in the mountains, but we have more and more usage. We have more people moving here, more developments. And so that's pulling a lot of water out of the system, and it's not getting circulated back in.
Cannot believe how much they're building down in the South. I cannot believe, and it's dry as a
St.
bone.
George.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it's
I
all
cannot
reliant
believe
on
how
our
much
water
development.
here.
I'm like,
We
where
have no
are we going
water
to get
here.
the water for this?
They're taking it out of the Colorado, and the Colorado doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
But I have the solution, Tom. If you want to
Cloud seeding?
it's even better than that, but a multi-billion-dollar idea, I've got it. I've got it. We should just put it on the podcast because I'm not going to do anything with it, but you could totally run with this, Tom. You are an entrepreneur. You could make a lot of money.
Okay. I'm excited to hear what it is, but
we'll do it after we end the recording. And then if you decide not to do it, maybe we'll put it on the podcast so somebody can do it.
Sounds good. All right. So neither of you agree with that one?
I would be fascinated if the climate starts to change without human intervention. The climate in Utah specifically starts to change the way that you said it would without human intervention. It's getting drier and drier.
Yeah,
I would love for that to be the case. That it gets wetter because you guys desperately need it. The Great Salt Lake is almost entirely vanished. But if your winters get more moderate, that screws up my skiing. So boo on you.
Hey, we didn't. No one even opened till almost Christmas.
Oh, I know. We went skiing right when we got out there. The week before Christmas, we went to Nordic Valley and we skied in mud.
Yeah,
it was awful. It's terrible.
That's a regular thing now.
Yeah,
but all right. Hey,
Gator
those
King, put money on
are the predictions for 2022. If Gator King comes and takes over Florida, then you heard it here first.
Josh wins. He wins it all.
Yeah, winner take all. But all right, that was a fun episode. So yeah, I think it'll be fun in a year to revisit this podcast and see how we did and see what was accurate and what was totally.
That was bizarre how similar our takes were on what we wanted to talk about. That was really weird.
Yeah, that was interesting. With a lot of overlap there, which kind of goes to show, right? We agree more than we disagree on, and that's I think that's a lesson that we need to keep hammering home. We focus on the agreement and not the disagreement. So and that's our episode, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.